This is a quick video on how SPSS output files work. So whenever you're running something in SPSS, let's say I want to analyze how people answered one of these questions. So I'm going to analyze, I'm going to go into descriptive statistics and frequencies. I just want to know, how did people answer this question? So this output thing opens up, and I want to run, let's say I want to run a couple of things. I want to run, this is on global climate change. I'm like super interested in them. I want to run a couple of questions, okay? So when I click OK, what will pop up is an output file, which this is a file of its own, right? It'll tell me a bunch of different things. It'll have all these different boxes, and over here it'll have like a guide to kind of what all of the things are. I don't want to just keep closing this out. I want to keep this open as an open document about all of the things I've been working on, right? It is something I can save on its own. You can click Save As. In fact, if you try to exit out of SPSS, it'll ask if you want to save this file. So it's worth to keep this as like a cumulative running file of all of the things that I'm doing. That said, if there's things where like, oh, actually, you know what? I didn't really want this question. I can actually cut this and get rid of it, right? So I can do some editing of this. I can insert a note to myself, for example. I can insert a heading, a new title, some text, or an image. This is an amendable kind of document that has its own kind of file that's independent of your data set. So saving your data set doesn't save this file, and you really want to save this file for yourself, so you're not constantly doing and redoing the same analysis over and over again, right? So one thing you also can do is you can go in and you can edit any of these. So if you click on that, it opens this like whole other file where you can do things like, oh, I can get rid of this label here. I can change the format, which is like going to table looks, and say like, oh, I kind of want it to look like that instead. You can kind of make it prettier. You don't want to be changing any of the numbers, of course. But if I look out of that, I have this to look at instead. So if you're finding these hard to look at, you can kind of play around with them, right? So you can do some editing here in this document. And again, I wouldn't just be closing it out every time things pop up. You're going to want to start, particularly for your own data set, you're going to want to start keeping track of the analysis that you do, so you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. You also, when you come back into the lab and you want to do some more analysis tomorrow, for example, you can just open this right back up when you open SPSS, and it'll just start adding new analysis to it as well. And this is great because you are going to turn in one of these for your homework, for your next homework, right? So you can do things like, you know, kind of organize it here. You can move things around in it. You also, if you're like, I want to work on this, like not in the lab, you can save it as a viewer file, which is fine, right? That's one thing you can do, but you also can export it. Where is that? You can usually turn it into, like you can open a new data file or an output file, right? That's an option. But you also can kind of copy and paste it into a Google Doc. You can sort of select the ones you want and do that. And you can click Export, which allows you to turn it into like a Word doc, a PowerPoint slide, a PDF. PDFs are kind of clunky because it kind of sometimes cuts up crosstabs and stuff like that. But a lot of these other functions are great. You can tell it kind of where you want it to open that at, right? So where do you want to save that at exactly? And whether or not you want to add graphics to it or whatnot. So it gives you lots and lots of options. So this is a tool for you to use, right? It's a thing that you might be turning in for some of your assignments, and you should know kind of all the different ways that you can use it.